your bait is properly attached, because those marlins are gonna love to fight you. All right?
Like this?
All right, let me have a look. Yeah, that's real nice there, Yankee.
Thanks. So you've been doing this kind of work for a while?
Oh, yeah. Been on the water most of my life. My old man used to take us fishing down at Wolf Creek. Caught a lot of major babes with the old head on a stick method.
Well, that sounds pretty nice.
It was. But now I'm stuck here giving tours to the old yuppies, you know? No offense.
None taken.
Yeah, just last week I had two guys from your neck of the woods. Norman and a Jason. Oh. Not bad blokes, not at all. They just had some major mommy issues, if you catch my drift.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to another Regal Mystery Movie Review. Today's movie played on May 26, 2025, and the movie was Dangerous Animals. When Zephyr, a savvy and free-spirited surfer, is abducted by a shark-obsessed serial killer and held captive on his boat, she must figure out how to escape before he carries out a ritualistic feeding to the sharks below.
Rated R.
Jai Courtney plays Tucker, our dive with the sharks professional and serial killer. He's known for being in some bigger franchises like The Terminator, Die Hard, and the DCU. But here he can flex his acting muscles a bit more. He cuts a rather imposing figure, but he's just nice enough to get people to trust him. Jai plays the crazy killer Tucker pretty well, though some of his monologues can get a little hammy. Hassie Harrison plays Zephyr, our American surfer who falls prey to Tucker. She also has a rather sensual one-night stand with Moses. Zephyr is a loner, a solo traveler who believes she's better off alone. And it's that attitude that gets her tangled up with Tucker. Hassie does a great job of being the hot and cold Zephyr. Josh Houston plays Moses, our hot real estate agent who falls in love with Zephyr after that steamy one-night stand. I think they made him a bit too much of a hopeless romantic. He also tries to piece together the clues of Zephyr's disappearance. Moses' role is pretty limited, but he does help move the plot along when it's needed. Josh does a satisfactory job at being the concerned, attractive male interest. The movie opens on two co-ed tourists who are getting ready to do a shark dive on Tucker's boat. You know, where they put you in that big metal cage and then throw you in the water with all the sharks. As you can see from the trailer, it doesn't really work out for them. We cut to a chance meeting between Zephyr and Moses, which leads to a steamy experience in the back of Zephyr's van. Unable to have human emotions, she leaves early and heads to the beach to catch some waves. And unfortunately, she runs into Tucker. The rest of the film focuses on Zephyr's attempts to escape the ship. For me, the movie's a pretty standard low-budget horror film. From just reading the movie description, I pretty much knew all the steps and beats of the film. The idea of a serial killer who feeds his victims to sharks is fresh, but it's really just a change of scenery for the generic killer story. There's the usual cat and mouse situations where Zephyr's about to escape and doesn't. Over and over again. Now, it makes sense that she's continuously trying to get away from the ship, but after the fourth or fifth time, it started to drag. It slowed down the pacing, and it made that hour and 33-minute length feel a bit long. Speaking of long, why are so many current movies focusing on old, long-in-the-tooth technology? The last Regal Mystery movie, Bring Her Back, had characters using a camcorder and VHS tapes. And it's the same thing in Dangerous Animals. Tucker strictly uses 30-year-old camcorders and VHS to preserve his perverse collection. We even get to see him thrifting more. It's weird. Given how much moisture is in the air on a boat, I would think he would want something a bit more sturdy. Maybe it's an Australian thing, since both of these movies are products of Australia? I feel like we may be getting to the point where modern audiences aren't going to understand this older technology. The music collection was similarly antiquated. That isn't to say I didn't enjoy it. Most of it was covers of older songs like punk and classic rock. And Zephyr and Moses seemed really into Creedence Clearwater Revival, or CCR, a band that formed almost 60 years ago. Now don't get me wrong, I enjoy CCR as well, but to see these younger characters so enamored with them was a little weird. But maybe they just have good taste like me. The special effects were what you would expect from a low-budget horror film. There was often a camera cut from any of the more graphic violence. Any shark attacks were also concealed by all the splashing. There's enough shown, though, to give the audience a general sense of the violence that is occurring. Any of the practical effects that we saw were fine, but the CGI wasn't the greatest. Obviously, using real sharks wasn't really feasible in this film, aside from the regular nature shots of sharks swimming. And there's not going to be Jaws-level animatronics. So CGI was the correct path to take. Now, it's not Sharknado bad level CGI. It's really about how they used it that made it look worse. The final act really suffered for it. Because if you're going to have lower budget CGI, it's probably better to just not have the camera linger on it for too long. And that brings me to my main gripe about Dangerous Animals. The movie starts out as a rooted in reality type of horror film. Nothing too corny. The characters could be real people. The situations are realistic. Now, you did have all of the usual horror tropes. Like characters trying to get help from the police, but they leave out details. Or they learn new information, but they don't tell the cops immediately. Characters often act like they themselves have never seen a horror film. I know that if I was stuck on a ship, I would be throwing the life preserver overboard in hopes that it makes it to shore. It is labeled with the name of the ship, and then cops, hopefully, would be able to trace it back to Tucker. It's the same with attacking the killer. If you knock the killer down, then you need to finish the job. I know that taking a human life just isn't something that most people can do. But if it's life and death, stuck on a ship, with a killer that's twice your size, if you get him down, put him down for good. But I digress. Back to my main gripe. As I said, Dangerous Animals felt as realistic as it could, until the end. The last 20 minutes dove into more of a fantasy element. It felt so out of place. The sharks are now choosing who they want to eat? And why is Zephyr all of a sudden giving out corny one-liners? Throw in bringing somebody back from the brink of death with a kiss, and you've completely evacuated reality. The audience shouldn't have to suspend all belief in this last 20 minutes of film. It's a complete tonal shift that left a bad taste in my mouth. Plus, it dissipates all of the tension that was steadily building up throughout the film. In the end, Dangerous Animals had the teeth to be an average horror film, but its descent into the silly left it floundering on the deck. And that is why I'm giving the Regal mystery movie, Dangerous Animals, the Dead in the Water score, a 4.5 out of 10. The ending was a huge letdown and ended up feeling like a late-night television movie. So, did you see the Regal mystery movie Dangerous Animals? If so, cast out your opinion in the comment section down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to feed my shark-like appetite. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Oh.